I cry out to the Lord. I plead for the Lord's mercy. I pour out my complaints before Him and tell Him all my troubles. When I'm overwhelmed, You alone know the way I should turn. Wherever I go, my enemies have set traps for me. I look for someone to help, but no one gives me a passing thought. No one will help me. No one cares a bit what happens to me. Hear my cry, for I am very low. Rescue me from my persecutors. That's David. That's the words of David. This is the king of Israel, the man after God's own heart. And he's hiding in a cave. This is maybe the lowest point of David's life. This is David. His wife has been taken from him and given to another man. He's lost his best friend. His family, he can't go near his family because people take out their vengeance on his family if he goes near them. He's getting kicked out of towns. He's hunted by King Saul because he is insanely jealous of the praise that David gets as opposed to him. And David is hiding in caves just to stay alive. There's no future, there's no hope, and this is going to be his life, just running and being hunted. And if you're human, you've kind of got a little taste of that. A little bit. Because you've been abandoned. At some point, you've been misjudged. You've felt alone. You've felt those low points in your life as well. And some people, maybe those are right now for you. You've had, maybe it was a relational breakup. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe your character was called into question. Or maybe you were just betrayed by somebody and you have felt low. Like, this is so low. I don't know if I can get any lower. And you're hiding in your own cave. And there doesn't seem to be any hope. This is not just David. This is us. We go through this as well. But I want to say this, is that in the lowest of low times, that's when your true self is shown, and also where real hope shows. This is where your true character shines forth, and the real hope that you've been looking for, you see that too. We're going to continue our story through David, the king of Israel. We're going to hear his story, especially in this lowest of low times for him, and how his true character showed, as well as his hope. So if you're following along, I'm in 1 Samuel chapter 24. Let me read a little bit to you. After Saul returned from fighting the Philistines, he was told that David had gone into the wilderness of En-Gedi. So Saul chose 3,000 elite troops from all Israel and went to search for David and his men near the rocks of the wild goats. At the place where the road passes some sheepfolds, Saul went into a cave to relieve himself. But as it happened, David and his men were hiding further back in that very cave. Now is your opportunity, David's men whispered to him. Today the Lord is telling you, I will certainly put your enemy into your power to do as you wish. Now, let me just stop there a second. You picture this. It says that it's verbal there, but the chances are a lot of this was non-verbal. David's in this cave, in walks this person that is trying to hunt him down. And you know this eye contact going back before David and his alpha male fighting soldiers. These are tough guys. And you know that they're looking at him like, David, like this. And you know that they're doing stuff like that. They're not going to speak out loud and say, hey, David, how'd you kill this guy? They're just doing stuff like this. And then it's like, no. David goes, no, I can't do that. No. All right, the stuff like that, all of a sudden, then they're going like, I'll do it. You know that they're doing this stuff because this is the enemy. This is the one who is powerless right now. This person has walked right into their hands. God has answered their prayers. Or has he? No, let me read a little bit more. So David crept forward and cut off a piece of the hem of Saul's robe. I don't know how he did that. It doesn't say. That's not the important part. But he comes away with a hem of his robe. But then David's conscience began bothering him because he had cut Saul's robe. The Lord knows I shouldn't have done that to my lord the king, he said to his men. The Lord forbid that I should do this to my lord the king and attack the Lord's anointed one. For the Lord himself has chosen him. So David restrained his men and did not let them kill Saul. You get this, right? Alpha male men. That's the enemy. What you do when you have your enemy and they're powerless in front of you, you don't wait until they become powerful again. You attack. You say, this is the enemy. It's just as easy, just stab it and slice it. We can do this. Even we who have not been drilled in the ways of war know how to take out a person. We could do this, right? And these alpha males, and you're talking with them, no. This is God's anointed man. We can't do this. Would we do the same? Would we think, all right, this is our opportunity. The person's defenseless. Whew, boy, that'd be tempting. Boy, that would be tempting. But here's the thought. Last week we talked about this. How that it's a dangerous thing to go against God or the people God has chosen. Goliath had to learn that. He learned it in a bad way. He defied God or anybody that God chose. And he paid for it. We know that story. David is saying the same thing. His men are saying, no, this is how we're supposed to do it. When they're down, we kick them. We take them out. And David brings up a deeper, more foundational rule for life. Do not defy God or those that God has chosen. Saul is God's man. And we realize that he doesn't act like he's a representative of God. He doesn't think like God is the center of his life. We know that. He's hunting David down. So we know this, but God has anointed Saul to be his man. He has chosen him. This is the king. We've done this. So why would David ever thwart God's man? Every year, 50% of our country has a less than favorable perspective towards the president. It doesn't matter who the president is. Half of the country's not going to like him. It's been so polarized. Half of them are saying, "Arr." We probably know people that if they had the chance to cause harm to whoever that president is, they might think of it for a second or so. But we forget how our God builds up leaders. And our God brings down leaders. Is it up to us to if we had the chance to do such a thing? Would we be in that situation? And David says, no, it's God's job to bring up leaders. It's God's job to bring them down. I am not going to go against my God. And just a side note on that one, and I'm not saying that we have to just sit by and not do anything and let the person be the king. You know, Edmund Burke was given credit for this quote, but it's not his quote. It says, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. It's not saying that we should do nothing. We should resist evil. We should resist things that are not according to what God has called it. And that's what David does. He brings out the obvious truth. Well, let me read the rest of this. It's a little longer passage, so follow along if you can. And pick it up at verse 7. After Saul had left the cave and gone on his way, David came out and shouted after him, "My lord the king!" And when Saul looked around, David bowed low before him. Then he shouted to Saul, "Why do you listen to people who say I am trying to harm you? This very day you can see with your own eyes it isn't true. For the Lord placed you at my mercy back there in the cave. Some of my men told me to kill you, but I spared you. For I said, I will not harm the king. He is the Lord's anointed one. Look, my father, at what I have in my hand. It is a piece of the hem of your robe. I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. This proves that I am not trying to harm you and that I have not sinned against you, even though you have been hunting for me to kill me. May the Lord judge between us. Perhaps the Lord will punish you for what you are trying to do to me, but I will never harm you. As that old proverb says, from evil people come evil deeds. So you can be sure I will never harm you. Who is the king of Israel trying to catch anyway? Should he spend his time chasing one who is as worthless as a dead dog or a single flea? And listen to this one. May the Lord therefore judge which of us is right and punish the guilty one. He is my advocate, and he will rescue me from your power. David needs to tell the truth. Saul's done with his business and he leaves and maybe goes down into the gully out of ways. He's got his guards around him. He's out 100 yards or so, at least this is in my head. He's out there a ways. And David yells out, "My lord the king, let me tell you the truth. I'm not here to harm you. I want peace. You're God's anointed man. I am not here to hurt you. Here's the evidence. I've got the hem of your robe. I could have easily killed you. That's not me. The people that are telling you that I'm your enemy are the liars. They're misjudging and mistreating me. I don't want to hurt you. Why would you try to hurt me?" See, he wants to bring out the truth. Saul and all of his men need to know the truth, the obvious truth. And I'm not the enemy. And if we are God's men and God's women, we are going to expect to be mistreated like this. And to have people talk about our character and misjudge us and mistreat us. We need to expect to be mistreated in this way. Help me out with this one, all right? Finish this statement. Deep down, people are, what's the next line? People are good. What a crock. That is so untrue. That we aren't, we're awful. We are the people that mistreat other people, and we are mistreated. Deep down, we are out for ourselves or people that we care about. We're basically selfish people. And I know that rubs up against all of us. No. We're really good people. Deep down, we're good. And when we look at ourselves, we know the truth. We are the ones. We are corrupted to the bone. We are more like Saul than we are like David. That's who we are. And we talk with other people, and they are more like Saul than they are David. And they mistreat us. And it's important that we convince other people the obvious truth that we do not want bad things to happen. That we're not looking for revenge. And that should be our heart, because our Jesus changes us inside, so that should be more and more who we are. But deep down we know that that's not us. And so often we fight against God, and we fight against God's people, or the people that God has appointed to be in positions. Even more if we are a Christian, we're mistreated. That's a scary thought, isn't it? Wait, man, do I want to be a Christian if I'm going to be mistreated? I'm going to obviously get this. The Bible says this in 2 Timothy. Everyone who wants to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. We know that that's going to happen. I'll give you an example here. It happened in Canada. It was like 3 years ago. Oh, maybe closer to 5. A university, a Christian university, had a code of conduct. A code of conduct. It said, if you want to go to school here, these are some of the standards we have. And one of those standards was all extramarital sex is outlawed. If you're married, awesome. That's worthy. Keep the fire in the fireplace in the marriage. Awesome. But anything outside of it, if you're not married, it doesn't matter if you're gay or straight or all these, that's prohibited. And those are the code of conduct. And you're thinking, well, that makes sense. In our culture, that's certainly not the way. In our culture, it's like, what? You're going to limit somebody? The Supreme Court of Canada said this requirement discriminated against people because they should have the right to have as much sex as they want. It doesn't matter if the Bible says this is reserved for marriage. No. You have to outlaw that from your code of conduct. If we are going to live for Jesus, there's always going to be a pushback against us, the things that Christ calls us to do or to not do. And you know that you're going to be as mistreated as a follower of Jesus, and this is the thing that we need to figure out here. You need to anticipate your desire for revenge. You need to anticipate it because you know it's there. I'll give you an example. It was a week ago today. I get to play soccer with my kids. I think it's more, it's not because I'm like the star of the team. No, it's only if I do score a goal, they get to go, yeah, we had a 90-year-old score on you, and then they go that way. So I don't think it's that. I get to play with them, and it's awesome. But a week ago, this guy comes in, and it spikes up on my son. And he's got this gash on his calf. And it's bleeding and it's bruised. And there were not nice thoughts that came into my head. I'm just going to be honest as your pastor here. There were things that going through my head. All right, he plays over there. I'm going to go on that side the next time I'm in the game. And you know where this goes because every parent, the red flag comes up, and that's all they see when somebody hurts someone that they care about. And the desire for revenge was real. I'm sure that nobody's ever had that before, right? Nobody would ever think, and you're all looking at me like, who is this monster up in front of me talking about this, that he would possibly think of getting revenge? I didn't have the opportunity. I didn't take it on them. But it was, I said words, but in just like the side. But there's that desire in each of us to seek revenge. And it doesn't give me comfort knowing that I have this. That we all have this desire for revenge. And it's natural, and we see it in kids. And all you need to do is go on on social media for 5 minutes and you see it plain as day. Oh, I can't hurt them physically, but I can just rip into them verbally. I can verbally assault them. I can try to trash their reputation or gossip about them, or however we do it. We have this desire for revenge. And our God said, wait, well, no, that's not how I have called you to live. Here, let me tell you how I've called you to live. Here's your baseline. I want you to love me with all your heart, soul, and mind. And all these people that are going to do bad things to you, I want you to love them as you love yourself. What? This desire for revenge doesn't go with loving your neighbor as yourself. And there's that clash every step. And David is there. He's in the cave and God, I love you. And I got to love this person. No, wait a minute. This desire for revenge, he's the problem here. He's the one that is making me in this cave. He is causing me pain. I have to love him? Wait a minute. Revenge is our natural response. I'll even go one step further because the Bible has lots of passages that I really don't like. And I want to read ones to you. I want to read a couple to you. It comes out of Romans chapter 12. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Wait a minute. That person just ripped into his calf. Are you telling me that's okay? No, don't repay them evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. That's not right. If it's possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. When's the last time we sought peace? Seeking peace. God, I don't like this part of the Bible because that's not natural. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it's written, it's mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. What? I have to leave room for God to take revenge. That's not my job. Even though it's the natural desire of mine. I am in the lowest spot of my life and I want to take revenge, and God says, I will do it. It's mine. Don't take that on yourself. It'll just rip you apart. It'll wreck all your other relationships. It's not going to give you what you want. Let me take care of this. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. What? I'm supposed to give him a ham sandwich? No, what? If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Oh, parts of the Bible that I just wish were not there sometimes. Especially when I'm in the lowest place possible. This drives against every one of my instincts, every one of my desires. And if it wasn't for my Jesus, that would be natural that I would do that. But in the middle of this, we fight spiritually. We fight with our advocate. Let me read here. David doesn't listen to his men, and he doesn't fall for the desire for revenge. He says this, may the Lord therefore judge which of us is right and punish the guilty one. Let my God take care of this. He'll take care of this. He is my advocate, and He will rescue me from your power. I'm in the lowest spot possible, and I'm trusting Him because He is my advocate. An advocate is my supporter, someone who's in your camp, who is fighting for you. In court, we have advocates. They're called lawyers. They fight for you. Our Jesus is our advocate. He is always in our corner. He will make things right. You know, here's the thought that I had to come to terms with today, or this week. If David wins the physical battle, slices Saul up, Saul dies. If he wins the physical battle there, he loses the spiritual war there. He loses. He falls into the trap of revenge and saying, oh, this will get me out of my lowest of lowest. This will be my victory, in which that would be a defeat, because he would go against God and what God has called him to do. Instead, David says, all right, I am going to do this spiritual battle, my heart battle. I am sticking with my advocate, the God who has called me, and I am going with him. See, Saul lost the battle a long time ago. He lost the spiritual, the heart battle a long time ago. And his pride and his fears, they just brought him to ruin. And our God calls us to something better, deeper. He says, when you face a tough situation, stick with your advocate. Seek whatever you're going to do. Choose what will give God the most glory. You know, our Jesus was in that situation. It was a Thursday. It was a Thursday. He's in the Garden of Gethsemane. And he is so distraught. He's by himself. His good friends, they're sleeping. Within a little bit of time, all of them will abandon him. They'll scatter. But he will be arrested. But in this time, he is so low. He says, Father, the road ahead of me is so dark. It's filled with pain and suffering. If there's another way possible, I will go that route, but it's not about me. It is about you. It's about your will. It's about giving glory to you. And what do you have for me? And after everybody is scattered, he's arrested. And he's brought on some trumped up charge because people lied against him. People betrayed him to the authorities. And he's put on trial, this kangaroo court. Friday morning, he's found guilty. Revenge was an option. Our Jesus had the power. He could call down a legion of angels to set things right. Instead, they marched him out to a place called the Skull. It's called Golgotha. And there they nailed him to a wooden cross between two thieves. And the crowd called him to show your power. Show your power. Come on off that cross. But Jesus was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. He was oppressed. He was afflicted. And by his stripes we are healed. Our Jesus bore the weight of the world on his shoulders, the sin of all mankind. And he said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. All this mistreatment, all the pain, the suffering has brought me low, and they don't know what they're doing. And he hung his head and he died on a cross. And they put him in a borrowed tomb. And on Sunday morning, he arose with victory over all of sin and death and hell and the oppression and the mistreatment and all of the evil that was against God and his people. And Jesus calls us to the same victory through him. Our Jesus has given us the victory. We've been backed into a cave, and through Jesus we stand tall and we have a victory.